Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I am cleaning up the dolls I hauled in my last video, which are the 4 Way to Wonderland dolls. So right now I am just getting the girls undressed. I'm putting their tiny accessories in a little tin because those ones I am not going to be washing, and I'm setting aside their plastic accessories, like their bigger pieces, shoes, any sort of like collar, anything they came with, and their headbands, because those I am gonna scrub. I'm also using a pair of cuticle scissors to cut out factory ties and get the headbands and rubber bands off the dolls, just to make sure they get extra clean. There's no need to wash their hair with headbands on. That's kind of meh. But I'm also taking down the hairstyles of all the dolls because I am going to restyle them. At the end of this video, you'll see that Apple and Kitty have new hairstyles. Lizzie and Maddie, I chose to not do anything to their hair because I'm going to make separate videos of their hair transformations. They did get cleaned in this video. I just wanted to style their hair in separate videos. So another thing I wanted to mention, I wanted just to add a little disclaimer. Everything I learned in this video is not my own. Most of what I learned watching the channel 1,000 Splendid Dolls, so you should definitely check out that YouTube channel. It's great. There's so many tips, and I love those videos, and I watch them more than once. I can't get enough of them. So yeah, I definitely recommend watching that. YouTube is great for finding things for tutorials and stuff, because when I first started getting into collecting dolls again, I was like, I'm not sure what to do. Like, can I just wash them with regular shampoo? But this method works so much better. I definitely feel that the dolls are getting much more clean, and that I can appreciate. And then also there is a pink tub in the background, and that's where I'm placing their clothes in for a load of doll laundry. Okay, so in this part, I'm just showing you what I use for tools. I have combs. Here's the little bin with accessories, then clothes. I'm using some color catchers in case the clothes bleed, some conditioner, fabric softener, dish soap, and laundry soap. And then you can also see I have some baking soda out, and Goo Gone, which Goo Gone is what I'm going to be using in this video to remove the glue leakage from the dolls. Goo Gone is definitely not my favorite, but just one of the things I'm trying out. I've tried out a few methods, and so far they all seem to work in their own ways, so I'm just using Goo Gone in this video. And I also have toothbrushes for scrubbing. And then over here I have my kettle, which I use for my boil washes and my bowls, and just a towel laid out for combing out the dolls. So now we're starting the doll laundry, and I'm just filling this up with cold water and laundry soap, and I also added in a color catcher. And I'm just agitating it to get them really soapy, and the dolls are in the other side of the sink soaking in some warm soapy water. So at this point I am taking a toothbrush, and I'm going to be putting soap on the toothbrush and just using that to scrub the dolls. The toothbrushes I'm using are soft bristle. I have used medium and I've used hard. I haven't had any problem with paint flaking off, but soft is definitely enough to clean dolls. So that's why I decided just to stick with soft bristles. It gets the job done. So I'm just using that. I'm scrubbing the dolls and making sure I get behind their heads, and I'm also making sure I get their hands and all of their joints, and then I just put them right back into the soapy water and move on to the next one when I'm done with that one. And then something I wanted to mention about Maddie, her hair feels like a sponge. It is just absorbing everything it comes into contact with, and it just feels weird, like it's like holding a lot of water, but it also feels dry at the same time. And now I'm draining the sink, and I'm just gonna go ahead and rinse it out, try and clear out some of the bubbles because I used a lot of soap. And now I'm just rinsing off the dolls, and then once I get the sink kind of cleared, I'm going to take baking soda, and I just dip my toothbrush right into the baking soda, or you can sprinkle it on the dolls, but dipping it picks it up really well. So I'm just dipping it in there and taking it and scrubbing the dolls the exact same way I did when I scrubbed the soap. And then I also wanted to mention, when using baking soda on articulated dolls, I like to make sure when I rinse the doll off, I bend their joints under the water so you can get the baking soda out. Because I don't want baking soda to dry in their joints and then they like feel stiff or like crusty, because baking soda leaves like a layer of like grit on your dolls if you don't rinse it off properly. Alright, so in this part, I'm just squeezing soap into the doll's hair and lathering them up for an extra wash. I believe I do that twice in this clip. I just want to make sure I scrub them really well. Kitty's hair at this point already feels like it's not going to be an issue, but I can tell in like Lizzie's hair and Apple's hair that the glue is already starting to loosen up and seep out even more. But Maddie's hair actually wasn't too bad in the end, but when I was washing it, I thought I was gonna have a really bad glue problem, but Apple's was the worst. Alright, so now I'm just taking conditioner and I am lathering Kitty's hair in this part with the conditioner and taking my comb, and I'm starting at the ends of her hair and just combing out all of the tangles. I typically comb my doll's hair in the sink, but I figured, you know, a towel will give me just a little bit more leverage since these dolls' hair were a bit in a really bad condition when I got them, honestly. Except Kitty's. Kitty's hair was pretty good. So that's why in this clip you see I don't really work with her all that much. But I do want to mention you should hold the doll's head so you don't put strain on their neck. And you should also, I like to hold the base of their hair just to make sure I lose the least amount of hair as possible. And so now I'm working on Apple's hair. And I want to make sure I comb her hair in its corrected part, because that's going to make it easier when I boil wash the hair. It's going to make it easier when the hair dries and when I style it. So in all these steps, I make sure I part their hair the way I need it for restyling. And Apple's hair really wasn't that tangly. The issue with her was, again, like I said, the glue leakage, but the Goo Gone did work, so I'm thankful for that. So you'll notice with Lizzie's hair, I left the two like front curls intact. They were sewn on with thread. Like there was thread holding them in place. They weren't like actually sewed there. But I wanted to leave that there because it wasn't a rubber band, so I had no fear like boil washing the thread, but I wanted to do that just to keep those pieces separate for when I restyle her hair. And once I do restyle it, I will put like rubber bands there, or I might not even put rubber bands there because they look nice not having to be attached to the head. So, but just to keep those intact while I go through the cleaning process. Alright, so now I have the kettle boiling. So, well, it's starting to boil. I just turned it on. And I'm doing the same process on Maddie's head. But with Maddie, her hair was so tangly. It took such a long time to get through all the tangles. So what I did is I made sure to kind of separate the hair into smaller sections to comb it through, because I didn't want to just go at it and, you know, either rip her head off or rip her hair out. So I'm just doing the exact same thing I did with the other dolls, but sectioning off the hair smaller and just being a bit more gentle, while at the same time being a bit more aggressive towards the ends of her hair, and making sure I hold the hair like at the base of the head so I don't rip out anymore. And Maddie, I thought was gonna lose a lot of hair, but she really didn't. Like, she barely lost any hair, and her hair came out really nice in the end, but it's still so like fluffy and frizzy that I wanted to make a styling video for her separate. Alright, so the first round of boiled water was done, so I filled up this bowl. I'm adding some fabric softener because fabric softener stays in the hair longer. It makes it softer, but the scent stays a really long time. even after I wash the hair after the boil wash, I can still smell the fabric softener. So now I'm just dunking the 3 girls in because Maddie's taking a separate boil wash. I'm making sure to feel their hair, just kind of see how the glue's doing. And so these ones shared a bowl. Maddie needed her own bowl because her hair filled up the bowl. But those girls are gonna sit while I rinse out Maddie's hair. And I also want to mention I rinsed out the other girls' hair before I put them in the boil wash too. I'm not sure if that was in a previous clip or not, but after I condition the hair and brush them through, I like to rinse them out. And then the other girls finally finished. I put them in for about 30 to 40 minutes. And now I'm going to put Maddie in her own boil wash. And so I'm just dunking her in there. And her hair really did fill up that bowl. And now for these girls, I'm taking some soap and I'm just giving them another wash. I'm also making sure I can still comb through their hair. Because you don't want to let the tangles dry in their hair. It's easier to work with hair when it's like wet to detangle than it is when it's dry, because when it's dry you can pull out more hair. So just make sure you comb through your doll's hair. Now I'm emptying out the laundry bin, just pouring out that water. I'm gonna take each piece of clothing, I'm gonna take each piece of clothing individually and wring it out under some cool water. And I'm making sure to squeeze really tight just to get all of the soap out. And then also for the color catcher, I do save them and reuse them because you should. This is a very minimal amount of laundry, so why not reuse it? And it didn't really catch anything, so I don't feel bad about reusing it anyways. But I do rinse it off and then I've set it out to dry as well. And I also fill this bucket up with soap because I wanted to wash that. You should always wash it after you're done using your little laundry tub. And then here I'm just showing you, I'm putting some soap and water into a little bin with the plastic pieces I'll be scrubbing. So while the plastic piece is set, I'm just laying out all of the clothes I washed. And I'm making sure to kind of flatten them out while laying them out and making sure they're really not touching each other, just so they can dry easy. Alright, and so I'm just using the same method I did earlier when I cleaned the dolls, and I'm just scrubbing the plastic pieces. I didn't use baking soda in this step. You can use baking soda if you want, but this was enough for me to feel good about it. And then once I'm done scrubbing, I just kind of fill it up and drain it a little bit, and I just repeat that a few times just to kind of scrape off some of that soap. And then I'm just rinsing it and setting it on the towel next to everything else, because I'm gonna lay these out to dry as well. Alright, so here you can see I'm just laying everything out. I'm kind of laying them out by each character's set of clothing. It's really not important that you do that or anything, but that's just me wanting to stay a bit organized. And then with shoes, I recommend tapping them out because they tend to fill with water. Alright, now Maddie's done with her boil wash, so we are just rinsing out her hair. I'm gonna just scrub it with some soap again. And then I'm also gonna make sure I can get the comb through the ends like before. Alright, and now everybody is set up to dry, and this is the next day. I let them dry overnight. And so Lizzie, Apple, and Maddie all need a little bit of Goo Gone in their hair. If you're going to use Goo Gone, I recommend probably don't do it the way I do it, because you shouldn't come into contact with your skin with it. And if you are a child, make sure you have a parent's help. But for me, having like the skin contact with the hair, it helps me kind of feel how much has been lathered on and exactly where the glue is. So that's why I do this barehanded. And I do have pretty sensitive skin, but it didn't really irritate my hands. So but just keep that in mind. It's not safe for your skin. But I'm just kind of spraying the areas that do need it. I don't want to saturate their head, and that's why I got the spray bottle, so I could just like kind of spot treat it. And really, these dolls only needed it at the base of their head, so the spray bottle was enough. And then I wanted to mention I did this 2 to 3 times on Apple, twice on Lizzie, and then I did it once on Maddie, and then I also gave her no, I did it twice on Maddie as well. Yeah. So twice for Maddie, twice for Lizzie, 3 times for Apple, but I only showed it the one time. So I let them sit for 30-ish minutes. I think it was closer to 40. And so now I'm just going to rinse out their hair. I'm going to wash them with soap like I did before. I know it's a lot of washing. It's a lot of steps. And honestly, you can cut down on them. I'm a very picky cleaner, so that's why I do so many things. But I'm also, while I'm washing their hair, kind of gauging exactly how gooey they might be, and then that will help me decide if they're gonna need another one. But I let them dry completely before I give them another Goo Gone treatment, just to see, because you want to brush through them when they're dry after the first Goo Gone treatment and see exactly, because sometimes the goo can flake out of their hair. But after I rinsed them and I let them dry, they definitely showed not too much improvement, so that's why Apple got 3. Alright, so here is the finished product. Maddie isn't done because she's getting a separate video for her hair, but I did decide to just like pull it back a little bit. She still has her 2 like left hands. Apple, I restyled her hair and I think it looks fantastic. There's no more glue. Kitty, I just gave them their same hairstyles, but Kitty's hair came out so nice. I love Kitty. I think she's definitely my favorite so far of these ones. And then here you can see Lizzie's little curls out front, and then the back of her hair is kind of a wreck, and the ends are really dry, but she's gonna get her own styling video as well. Alright, so that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Bye everyone.